Let me start by being completely honest. Women are not nearly as enigmatic as society has led you to assume. In reality, once you grasp the underlying psychology governing their actions, feelings, and impulses, you will uncover a powerful truth. Inspiring a woman to become obsessed with you has very little to do with your physical appearance, your bank account, or even being the stereotypical nice guy. It is entirely about understanding the inner workings of her mind. In this discussion, I am going to teach you precisely how to master that. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are exploring one of the most provocative and illuminating subjects in modern dating, utilizing female psychology to ensure almost any woman becomes fixated on you. I am not talking about her merely liking you or falling for you. I am talking about true obsession, the kind of mental preoccupation that keeps you in her thoughts through the day and night. This is the approach that shifts the dynamic and places the influence firmly in your hands. To be clear, this isn't about deceit. It is about heightened awareness. It is about identifying the nuanced psychological triggers that most men fail to see and that women rarely acknowledge. They don't mention them because these reactions are subconscious. They aren't even aware they are responding to them, but you will be. What you are about to discover are 7 psychological methods that connect directly to a woman's emotional makeup. These are not superficial pickup lines or cheap ploys. They are behavioral blueprints, emotional cues, and shifts in perspective that activate a specific response in her brain. Once that internal switch is flipped, she cannot ignore you. She begins to yearn for you, prize you, and even put you on a pedestal. Most men spend their entire lives pursuing women who hardly notice their existence. After today, you will not be among them. You will comprehend what actually drives a woman to obsession, and more crucially, how to spark it naturally. So prepare yourself, because once you internalize these 7 techniques, your view of women and yourself will be permanently altered. First, you must ignore her physical beauty and instead offer praise to her intellect. Most men fall into a predictable trap. They encounter an attractive woman, and the first words they utter are some variation of telling her how stunning or gorgeous she is. While this might seem like a polite gesture, it actually undermines your goal, particularly if you want to remain in her thoughts long term. The blunt reality is that attractive women receive compliments on their looks incessantly. It has become white noise to them. They have developed a mental filter for it. Consequently, when you lead with her appearance, you immediately categorize yourself as just another unoriginal man boosting her ego. She is already aware of her beauty. You are simply confirming what every other person has already said. If you truly want her to notice you, fixate on you, and wonder why she can't stop thinking about you after you leave, then use this strategy. Overlook the obvious beauty and instead compliment her logic, her perspective, or her wit. Women are rarely truly recognized for who they are beneath the exterior. Most men are so preoccupied with the visual that they never acknowledge how clever or insightful a woman might be. This is where your leverage exists. Suppose you are speaking with a woman who shared a unique thought regarding a book, a career move, or a viewpoint on life. Look her in the eye and tell her that most people don't think that deeply and that you can tell she notices details others miss. That is a rare compliment. It resonates because it validates her identity. It signals that you see what others overlook, and that creates a profound impact. The moment you stop focusing on her looks and start engaging with her mind, her curiosity is piqued. She begins to seek your approval because it is based on something substantive she cannot easily manipulate. This creates a value reversal. Instead of you acting lucky to be in her presence, she begins to feel fortunate to have captured the attention of someone who actually understands her. This makes you a challenge rather than just another admirer. Furthermore, the less you focus on her beauty initially, the more significant it becomes when you finally do mention it later. A casual remark about her being stunning, shared after a deep connection is made, carries 10 times the weight because it feels like genuine validation from a man she respects. Don't nourish the part of her that everyone else sees, nourish the part she keeps hidden. Second, pull away precisely when she wants to move closer. This tactic creates a mental loop that she won't be able to easily explain to herself. It works because it reverses the emotional pattern most men instinctively follow. Usually, when a woman shows increased interest, texting more frequently or becoming more attentive, men think they have finally succeeded and rush to match her energy so they don't lose her. They offer more time and more messages, but that is exactly when you should maintain your distance. Women generally do not obsess over men who are constantly accessible. They obsess over men who generate emotional tension. The most effective way to build that tension is to create space just as she is leaning in. This doesn't mean being cruel or playing childish games. It simply means being slightly less available than she expects. You want her to feel just a bit uncertain about exactly where she stands. That silence, those delayed responses, and that lack of predictability are what cause her mind to wander toward you. Women often crave emotional stimulation, and being too predictable kills attraction. When she realizes she can have your attention whenever she demands it, the excitement vanishes. However, when she feels like she almost has you, a different part of her psychology is activated. She starts questioning if you are losing interest or if she did something wrong. You are now firmly in her head. Most men are afraid to retreat when things are going well, but that is why it is so effective. By resisting the urge to overwhelm her with affection and staying focused on your own life, you demonstrate that you are a man with options and no emotional desperation. You enjoy her company, but you do not need it to feel complete. This energy is magnetic. It doesn't mean treating her poorly. It means you control the tempo of the relationship. That subtle distance keeps her in a state of pursuit. When you eventually do show warmth, it feels earned and authentic rather than desperate. Pulling away creates a sense of gravity that pulls her in closer as she tries to figure you out. Third, utilize subtlety to trigger her sense of jealousy. This is a topic that makes many men uncomfortable because they view it as toxic or immature. However, when executed with poise and confidence, jealousy is a potent emotional trigger. It is not about causing her pain or making her feel inadequate. It is about reminding her that you are a high-value individual who is desired by others and not merely waiting for her beck and call. A common error men make is centering their entire universe around a woman the moment they get her attention. They stop interacting with others and act as if the race is already over. This kills attraction because instinctively, women are drawn to men who are perceived as desirable by the collective. If it seems like no one else wants you, she begins to wonder if she made a mistake. If she notices that other women are drawn to you, her interest intensifies. You don't need to flirt overtly in front of her, you simply need to move through the world as a man who is socially in demand. It's about your aura and the fact that you don't require her specific attention to feel validated. Women are highly sensitive to social cues. If they see you are being noticed by others, your value automatically increases in their eyes. That small spark of jealousy makes her want to win you all over again. It disrupts the mundane comfort of the relationship and introduces a sense of healthy competition. It keeps her emotionally invested because she feels she needs to secure your focus rather than just receiving it passively. The key is not to overplay your hand, which can look insecure. When it happens naturally through your own confidence and social presence, she starts working for your time. A bit of competition makes her more emotional, and emotional investment leads directly to obsession. Fourth, carry yourself as if you could walk away at any moment. There is an undeniable power in a man who does not cling to a relationship as if it were his only lifeline. This mindset distinguishes you from the vast majority of men. Most guys become terrified of losing a woman once they experience any level of intimacy. They start overanalyzing every interaction and compromising their own boundaries just to keep her satisfied. In doing so, they surrender their power. Women do not become fixated on men who act like they would be destroyed by a breakup. They become obsessed with the man who remains grounded and unfazed by the possibility of moving on. This level of self-assurance forces a woman to reevaluate the dynamic. You aren't just reacting to her, you are establishing the criteria for her to stay in your life. When you project the energy that you could leave if your standards aren't met, it signals that you are not emotionally dependent. You are there because she adds value, not because you are needy. This creates a challenge that forces her to invest more effort into maintaining your interest. Most women are accustomed to men who are too afraid to cause conflict or stand their ground. When you break that mold and show that you won't tolerate lack of effort or games, she views you with a newfound respect. She thinks about you more because you are rare. Walking away isn't a threat you voice, it's a standard you live by. It communicates that you want her, but you certainly do not need her. When a woman feels that independence from you, she becomes emotionally hooked because she wants to be an indispensable part of a world that you are already happy in. Fifth, embrace unpredictability and never allow her to fully categorize you. Being overly consistent can actually be detrimental because it makes you easy to solve. Once a woman feels she has completely figured you out, the mystery evaporates and the excitement of the chase dies. Human nature is fundamentally attracted to the unknown. We become most invested in things we cannot entirely predict. By being intentionally unpredictable in a smooth and controlled manner, you stay at the forefront of her mind. She begins to wonder what your next move will be, or what is actually happening in your head. This isn't about being erratic or unstable in your values. It's about breaking the routine of your interactions. If you always respond instantly, wait a few hours. If you are usually serious, become playful and teasing out of nowhere. These subtle shifts break the pattern and keep her emotionally alert. If you are always the one making plans, stop for a moment and let her wonder if she will hear from you. Changing the vibe of a conversation unexpectedly can leave a lasting impression. If she expects a certain reaction and you provide a different, more interesting one, she will spend time deconstructing that moment later. Women often check out emotionally when a man becomes a predictable routine. If there is always a new layer to discover, she stays engaged. The goal is to avoid becoming boring. Unpredictability paired with charm and a calm presence makes you unforgettable. It triggers the part of the brain that associates mystery with high value. When she can't quite put you in a box, she starts creating her own stories about you, and that mental labor is what leads to obsession. Sixth, activate her competitive nature regarding other women. Regardless of what they might say, most women possess a natural competitive drive for men they find highly desirable. Even if she appears composed, seeing other women gravitate towards you, laugh at your jokes, or try to be near you changes her perspective. It makes her feel like there is something worth guarding and winning. Many men believe they should show total, exclusive loyalty from the very first minute to prove they are good guys. While honorable, this often removes the element of a challenge. It makes her feel like she has already won without having to put in any work. However, when she realizes you are a man that other women find attractive, it triggers a psychological need to validate her own status by being the one who has you. It's not about being a player, it's about having a life that naturally attracts people. When she sees you are socially charismatic and that other women enjoy your presence, she stops taking you for granted. She begins to pay closer attention to how you treat her and how much energy you are giving her compared to others. This shift in her mind makes her chase you because you are no longer just a guy who likes her. You are a guy that the market has deemed valuable. Her perception of your worth skyrockets simply because she sees you through the eyes of others. This taps into an instinctive desire to claim a high-value partner. Once she is in that competitive mindset, she is much more likely to become obsessed with keeping your attention. Seventh, provide your attention and then strategically withdraw it. Too many men are so hungry for a connection that they provide a constant, overwhelming stream of validation and energy. While they think they are being supportive, they are actually suffocating the attraction. Without contrast, there is no room for her to miss you or appreciate the time you spend together. Endless attention eventually becomes background noise that she no longer registers. What truly fosters obsession is the presence of contrast. It is the cycle of receiving your intense focus and then experiencing the void when it is gone. That space is where the magic happens. It's where she wonders where you are and what you are doing. Most men have been told to always be available and always show how much they care, but being perpetually accessible leads to boredom. Your attention only has high value if it isn't an unlimited resource. By providing high-quality engagement and then pulling back to focus on your own life, you create an emotional depth that makes her crave the next interaction. She begins to chase that high of your presence because you have shown her what it feels like to have it and what it feels like to lose it. This contrast is the ultimate catalyst for making her truly obsessed with you. The unfortunate reality is that a vast majority of men never actually grant a woman the opportunity to pursue them. They are far too preoccupied with the act of chasing, constantly initiating texts, incessantly requesting to see her, and frantically filling every silence because they are paralyzed by the fear of losing her interest. The irony in this behavior is that they lose her regardless. This doesn't happen because they committed a specific error, but rather because they failed to give her a single moment to actually notice the absence of their attention. This is your necessary wake-up call. You must stop being intimidated by the idea of pulling back. Cease acting as though her every response dictates your next move. You are not a subordinate to her emotional whims. Instead, you should be the architect of the emotional journey that keeps her engaged. This requires providing powerful, sincere moments of deep connection and then deliberately going silent. You must retreat into your own life and leave her to wonder. That specific tension is the foundation of everything. It is what forces her to replay your past conversations in her mind, makes her check her phone for your name, and allows her to feel the void you've left behind so she can crave the next time you reappear. Constant attention eventually means nothing. It only carries weight when it is earned, when it is unpredictable, and when it feels like a hard-won reward. You do not need to plead for her time. You need to demonstrate that your time is a limited, valuable commodity. Stop overextending yourself and stop fearing the quiet moments. Do not drown her in attention and mistake that for love. Give her a taste of your presence, then withdraw it. Let her experience that lack. Once she begins to pursue your energy, you cease being just another guy she likes and become the individual she cannot stop thinking about. The truth that most are afraid to state publicly is that women do not fall for the man who gives them everything. They fall for the man they cannot fully possess. That is the uncomfortable, controversial reality of attraction. The more available, predictable, and emotionally transparent you are, the less space exists for her to develop an obsession. Genuine fixation is born in mystery and the emotional space where she isn't entirely sure if she has secured you. It isn't about being nice or always showing up. It's about how much effort she must exert to gain your focus. This isn't about mere games. It's about acknowledging the psychological truths of attraction that most men choose to ignore. You may have been taught to lead with affection, but you were never taught how to lead with power. That is why you find yourself ghosted or ignored, not because of a lack of quality, but because you are too simple to decode. Furthermore, you must learn to reward her with silence. Most men fail to realize that silence is far more than just a lack of speech. It is a signal and a strategic tool. When utilized with intent, it becomes one of the most potent forms of influence you possess, particularly in romantic dynamics. Most men panic when things go quiet. The moment a woman retreats or offers a brief reply, they react impulsively by double texting, over-explaining, or pleading to be heard. However, a man who is secure in his own value and anchored in his purpose does not flinch. He allows the space to exist without trying to fix it. This is what sets him apart. When used correctly, your silence does not feel like a punishment. It feels like a significant shift in the power dynamic. For a woman accustomed to constant validation, this shift creates an emotional imbalance that leaves her questioning what has changed. To be clear, this is not the immature, silent treatment used for avoidance. This is selective, intentional silence, a withdrawal that communicates you do not need to explain yourself or chase anyone because you are grounded in something more important. This silence becomes a reward, but only if it follows a period of intense presence. If you have already provided warmth, authenticity, and intellectual depth, your sudden quietness will strike like thunder. She will notice the absence because you made your presence valuable in the first place. If you are emotionally distant from the beginning, your silence is irrelevant. But if you have connected deeply and made her feel understood before pulling back, that silence will echo. It forces her to reach out to you. When she finally does, you must not jump to respond immediately. You wait and let the silence do the teaching. She will begin to associate your attention with high value because it isn't cheap or automatic. In a world where everyone is constantly broadcasting and seeking a reaction, the man who does not rush to speak becomes rare and, by extension, highly desired. This is stoicism applied to modern life. You are not silent because of uncertainty, but because you are unmoved by the impulse to react. You are choosing clarity over desperation, and that level of self-control is incredibly magnetic. Do not withhold to be cruel. Withdraw to center yourself. Your silence is a reset. If she leans in, curious and unsure, she is no longer just being entertained. She is emotionally engaged. Build the connection first, then retreat with precision. That contrast makes her realize she does not own your attention, which immediately makes her want it more. If you have been the man who talks too much or tries too hard to resolve everything with words, try this instead.